Today's conversation is one you don't want to miss. I'm sitting down with Bradden Ford from NewReleaseToday. He's sharing an incredibly real, raw, and hope-filled story about redemption, faith, music, and why your story matters too. Stick around, this is going to be powerful. Kingdom Builder starts right now.
Hi, my name is Lachlan.
And my name's Brooklyn, and we're from Southland.
Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is John Wesley.
Hey, Josh Bissell here.
Hey, this is Jamie McDonald.
What's up? I'm Laverdier.
Hey, it's Leah.
And Brandon with Presence Music Band.
And you're watching
You're watching Kingdom Builder TV. If you're looking for stories of hope and encouragement, stay tuned.
Hey everyone, I'm Mike Laxton with Kingdom Builder, and today's conversation is going to be a little bit different. So I do want to mention up front that some of the topics we may discuss today may not be suitable for all viewers or listeners, as they do touch on past trauma and struggles with mental health. But the heart behind the conversation is hope, the hope that Jesus brings, no matter how dark things may seem. And today I'm honored to welcome someone who embodies that hope. Bradden Ford, a team member at NewReleaseToday, who is also a passionate advocate for faith and healing through music, and someone whose story is a testimony of God's amazing grace. Bradden, welcome to Kingdom Builder. Definitely grateful to have you here today to share your journey with us.
Of course. Thank you for having me on here. I've been a huge fan of Kingdom Builders, so I am absolutely honored and blown away to be here.
Well, it's an honor to have you. And for those who may not, who may not really know who you are, meeting you for the first time, can you just tell us a little bit about who you are or what you do with NewReleaseToday and how music has played a role in your life and calling?
Yeah, definitely. So as you already said, my name is Bradden Ford. I live around Nashville, Tennessee. I'm 22 now and have been passionate in Christian music for so many years now. I've worked with NRT for about coming up on 7 years, working as database manager, help with articles, reviews, interviews, just whatever I can do to help. So Christian music has definitely impacted my life. Growing up, it's been something that's always God's been able to speak through to help impact me in my faith walk and growing up and just so much. So I love that there's so many avenues and doors God just keeps opening for me to pour into people and just help other people discover this amazing music and what God's doing through it. So I'm here currently doing that, and God just continues to blow me away at all the opportunities and how I get to be honored to help you hear all these stories from other artists. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, that's why we both do what we do. And it's just great to be able to share those stories. And the reason we're here today is that I saw on your Instagram a powerful message about your journey, about overcoming abuse, addiction, and even moments where you almost lost hope. Can you just tell us a little bit, when you first started to realize that God was still writing your story?
Man, yeah. So I made that post recently on Instagram, which took a lot because it was, being honest with a lot of things I haven't been honest with yet. And doing that, how much God just continues to write my story and how much he's continued to move. It's been a beautiful thing. I'm blown away by it. I think when I first realized that was honestly the first time I almost took my life. It wasn't, afterwards, God saved me. And it's wow, God's writing my story. It was during that moment and just how much God's love became real to me that I realized God loves me. He's for me. And he somehow looks at me and says, I choose you. I want you. And I'm going to keep writing your story. And from that moment on, every trial, every tribulation, every roadblock that comes in the way, God just continues to remind me of who he is. And my life's just been a story of that, how much he's writing it more than I could ever do.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, even in those dark moments, God's love and mercy is still chasing after us. And looking back, what do you think were some of those first signs that God was at work even when you couldn't see it?
Definitely just where God put me in with everything, the location I live in, the community I was around. You could look at it and be wow, you live in the middle of nowhere around Nashville, and then you're not really having many people around you. But then God used those moments. He used the family he gave me, the people around me. Looking back, I can see all the songs I knew, all the things I've seen, all the stuff even in the middle of so much abuse and so much darkness, God just kept dropping those little things in there, little reminders of who he is. So it's something because I think about why did in that moment where I was going to end up taking my life, where God came through and broke through. How did that happen? And to be honest, I don't have the answers. All I can say is Jesus stepped in. And it's all throughout my life, those seeds that he planted just continue to bloom at that moment. So there's just so many little moments. I go on for hours on every last detail because God worked it all together. And it's a much more beautiful story than I could ever write. And a lot of it, I'll never be able to fully understand. because it's by God's grace and mercy. Like you said, that's always chasing after us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, faith is definitely a lot to deal with that. That's what we live by, the things unseen, just being able to rely on the things that God provides us and really just does for us. Can you kind of share a little bit about how your relationship with Jesus has changed during that season, and how did he meet you where you were? If you can share any details on that, that'd be great.
So when I grew up, I always was hearing about Jesus. I always heard about the word and everything. And it was always, I knew it, but it wasn't yet in my heart. I wasn't to the point where I knew who Jesus was to me personally. So in that season, especially when it was dark, I remember just thinking, God, if you're real, I need you to help me. If there's somehow you can pull me out of this, please pull me out of this. And looking in that season, like it wasn't an instant boom, everything is okay. There's no more mental health problems. And for some people, there may be that miraculous moment. But for me, it was just Jesus just stepped in. I felt literally in that moment like God just wrapped his arms around me and hugged me. He just told me, I love you, or it's not over yet. And like you said, faith has a big thing to do about it, like grabbing hold of, okay, God, that's who you are in this moment. And just in that season, it was tough. It was a lot of, I don't know what to do next. I don't know where to go next. All I know is I'm loved by a God that truly adores me and truly has so much in store. And accepting that part of my story was what brought this out from Bradden's broken story into God's story that he's writing.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I think one thing that we can relate to, and then again, part of the reason why we're doing this special series on Mental Health Awareness Month is that music is a big part of that healing process, at least for me, in my personal life, for a lot of others that we know personally, and even yourself. Can you explain to us what that role in Christian music, either certain songs, albums, or even working in the industry, how has that played in your story of recovery and your new life?
Oh man, I could talk for hours on that alone. Just like so much of it I already knew as a kid. And then after Jesus became real to me and I began walking with him, music was one of the main ways that he was able to speak to me and I was able to know who really God is. And it was through, I remember hearing a Jesus Culture song one time. I think it was the first time I ever actually listened to their music. Love Has a Name had just dropped. And I was floored. I'm like, this is who Jesus is. This is what worship is like. And I remember listening to old Jeremy Camp albums, Steve Acuris Chapman albums, and then just even the new artists that were coming out at the time, which it feels like a decade ago, but Laura Daigle was new to the scene, Riley Clemens was new to the scene, and their songs were impacting me so much. And all throughout my life, looking back, like I was raised on so much Christian music. And then after that moment, I was just going for as much of it as I could, trying to just take the words, God's truth, and just let that soak in. And it was through sometimes rock, sometimes hip hop, sometimes worship or country, all different styles of it. Some of it just gave me hope to move on. Some of it gave me really just learning who God is. Some of it helped me dive into the word. I don't think I would have actually read the word as intentionally as I do if it wasn't for Christian music. God used that so powerfully to help me find a church community, to help me find friends, to help me heal and just really be in that place. And even work in the music industry, I've been blown away by the people in the industry. And not everyone is going to be, your cup of tea, but so many people in the industry that just can show me God's love. And they've showed me who Jesus is in front of the cameras, behind the cameras, artists, people like yourself who just killed in the background, helping artists. Like, it's been incredible. And this is a journey because even through the mental health struggles, it wasn't a one and done. There's been multiple things and struggles. In Christian music, God has used really powerfully to bring me back out of that hole, out of how many times we get in our head and anxiety, and just to really dive into who God is, what the word says he is, and just knowing how much that love is real.
I know you talked about some of the older songs that you listened to. For me, the one real moment I felt God's presence and really just brought me off, high school for me was, sharing a little bit of my story, high school for me was not the best time for me. And then I actually moved to I was a military brat, so I moved to I moved to Florida my senior year of high school. So I was like, oh, wow, I was in another state for 6 years and I moved, to Tampa my senior year. And basically it's like, what am I going to do? But there was one particular group that I listened to a lot from middle school, high school. Well, probably high school. I'm trying to remember the years there. I think probably middle school. Yeah, middle school, high school. And then until, and really just that really carried me through even my early years of college was Jars of Clay. And one particular song, Worlds Apart, from their debut album, was for me the very particular song that really convicted me and wrecked me in all the best ways possible. And that was like my first real transformation. Like, I grew up as a Christian my whole life, but my first, I heard them perform that for the first time at an event, an outdoor event. I think July 4th, it was here in this Tampa area. And I found myself at my knees and just crying my eyes out. I'm like, God, do with me what you will. And really that was the start of a journey that, has led me to where I am today, being able to talk to, people such as yourself, just the artists, as you mentioned. It's just amazing how God kind of puts everything full circle, where it's such a big topic where, I probably didn't know at the time, but I was probably suffering from depression and just didn't really realize it until, it was just God's way of saying, hey, you know what, we're going to take this hurt and we're going to heal you and we're going to make you a better person and take you to where that's at. But enough about me. I want to talk more about your story. And one of the songs, actually the song that was really referenced when you posted that, was a new song from artists that we both enjoy greatly. I know friends of yours as well. My Favorite Part by Grace Graber and Daniel Spriggs. Can you kind of share what that song meant to you personally and why it resonated so strongly with your own journey?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. So Grace and her husband, they're like second parents to me. I love them. And I've gotten to know Daniel so much. Like, they're such good friends of mine. But I think especially before the song came out, Grace had sent it to me. And I remember listening to that and just literally the tears going down my face, because it's just such a powerful song about how much, life is worth living, how much God has in store for us. It literally it brought me back to that moment where Jesus wrapped his arms around me. It felt like a hug, because that song just reminds you, if you go now, you'll miss God's favorite part. And it's just such an incredible song. It reminded me, like you mentioned that one song, Jars of Clay. I love that. There's another song for me, Thousand Foot Crutch, which are one of my favorite bands of all time. They have a song called Breathe You In. It's like a deep cut from one of their older albums, but I remember hearing that song actually. It was like a TV program and they were performing it live. And I remember sobbing in my living room. And I was like, this is before I was even a teenager, I think. And just hearing this beautiful song that just really wrecked me. Like, and this one from Grace too, it reminded me of that, because it comes in with those rock vibes. It comes in with such a powerful message. And like, I know you've had Grace on Kingdom Builders before, which love that interview. It's incredible because the heart behind like these artists, Grace and Daniel, are so genuine to really give people hope. And even though I'm at, the other side of it, and I've, so much healing, so much growth, that song still is so much of an encouragement to me. I've listened to it literally over 100 times, and it just continues to pour into me. So hearing that song, I know that was the one I had to put in the soundtrack of that reel I posted. Because this is a song I want other people to listen to. I want other people to discover this and feel like God's just right there holding them, wrapping them in a hug and saying, I love you. Your life is worth living. I made you for every single moment, and you're going to be okay. So I absolutely love that song, and I love the ministry those artists are doing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, of anybody who could speak on that, Grace is definitely. I know she shared a little bit with us on the Kingdom Builder interview that we did with her, and hopefully we'll have her on for this month as well, to really get deep, a little bit, do a deeper dive on her testimony. But in your particular testimony, you actually, what's great is that you come out of this space, out of this dark space, and now you've had the chance to mentor others. You helped your siblings heal, even walked friends away from ending their own lives. What has that meant to you to now be someone who brings light into others' darkest moments?
That is entirely Jesus and Holy Spirit through me, because even though there's so much healing and growth, I don't ever feel like, okay, I'm the picture of that. I know how broken I am. And I know all the times I fell into addiction, all the times I was depressed and cried myself to sleep, just literally feeling worthless. And then seeing how God's using me now, like my siblings, they've so much growth and healing. And then God's used me. I was a youth pastor for a few years and began to really pour into the teenagers there and help them, especially one guy who was wanted to end his own life. And I remember sitting with them literally for like 4 hours in the middle of the night, just pouring into him. And now he's off doing great things that God's called him to. Like, it's an opportunity and a blessing that I don't take credit for. God has used me to be his hands and feet through this broken vessel that he looks at and loves. And he'd love back to life, to be honest. It's an incredible honor. And every time God uses me or uses my story, and even that Instagram post, I had people reach out to me asking for prayer, some people asking for hope. And some people, honestly, I had one guy message me. He said, dude, I'm feeling this right now. I'm not a Christian. I felt it from God and I'm really feeling broken. But this post has given me some hope. I don't even know what to believe, but I need something. And I remember just talking with him for hours and just getting to pour into him how much God loves him, how much his life is worth living, how much it gets better. There's light at the end of the tunnel. And it's mind blowing to me that I don't think I'll ever fully grasp how much God uses our stories like that. And how much, when I don't feel enough, God says, I've made you enough because I'm in you. And I'm going to use you to be the testimony that others need to hear. So it is one of the greatest lessons in my life that God uses me like that.
A lot of people, they struggle with feeling either too broken or feel like that their past disqualifies them from receiving the love of Jesus. But, we know that those are the things that he wants. He wants us to come to him with those struggles. So with that being said, what would you say to someone right now, if you're talking to someone who feels hopeless, who maybe even wonders if God could ever use their story? What would you tell them? How would you normally go about that?
Each person's different, but just going into it like that, it'd be, you're loved. Your story's not over. I know things seem dark, and I know it feels like you don't know where to go and no one understands you. But there is a God who made you perfectly and wonderfully. Every star in the sky is a testimony of how much God looks at you and says you're brighter and you shine more beautiful than that. He's there every single moment. He's holding you tight. It's going to be okay. And however I can be there for you right now, I'll do it. Like, whether it's staying up with them all night, whether it's listening to them all night, it's just going to be pouring out how I can be Jesus to them, showing who Holy Spirit is through me. And I mean, I'm trying not to get emotional thinking about this, because there's so many moments where I've had to sit there and I don't feel enough and I feel broken and tired. And God uses these random words. I remember one guy I talked with actually, and it was just randomly at church, and I told him, you're not as broken as you think you are. And then I got pulled away somewhere else. And literally a year later, he chased me down a parking lot. He said, Bradden, I wouldn't be here if you didn't tell me that one thing. So for all those who feel that like they're too far gone, they're too broken, God can't use them, you're not as broken as you think you are. It's Jesus in us that is going to get us through. And even when you feel like there's none of that and you're nothing, you're on the floor, God's right there standing next to you. He's holding you. He's hugging you so tightly. If you don't give up on him, he's going to continue to guide you. He's going to continue to make way. And life is so much beautiful and worth living, especially with all of us in it. All of us trust in him.
Just sometimes those words is all that people really need to hear, because unfortunately, mental health is still a stigma. It's still looked upon, and I think that's it's very sad, but it's just also representative of the sinful world we live in. Is that, oh well, you're not you're not right, then oh well, what's going on? And so on the flip side, if you're talking to someone who's trying to help those who are hurting, whether it's a friend, a family member, or something like that, what advice would you give them on how to be present and compassionate, full of Christ's love, to help those who are needing that time?
I love that question. Definitely just to listen, to be there as much as you can to listen to them. And a lot of people are going to be closed, because I know for me, there was so much abuse and so much hurt. And a few people I opened up to, they shut me down pretty bad. But it was some people, there still was people in my life though, that were there to listen, that were knocking on the door, sending me text messages saying, hey, you're loved. Hey, we're praying for you. And I'd say just, you're never going to be too much if you do that. Of course, don't text every hour. No one likes that. But as long as you just every now and then send a text, when you think about them, text them. When you pray about them, for them, text them. That means a lot. If you see them, give them a hug and tell them genuinely you're glad to see them, and talk with them. Yeah. And it may be slow. It may be hard for them to open up, but we see that. Like, I know in my dark moments, and I've had moments, unfortunately, like you said, mental health is still a stigma, and yet it's so real. And it's so, especially in the church. And I needed people in my life that I could go to and be honest with and say, hey, I'm not okay. And it was those people who would text me, who would listen to me, who would genuinely want to know. So for all those struggling, like, just be there for them. How much we forget how much just intentionally listening and intentionally loving someone, intentionally praying for them honestly means. And it's such a beautiful thing that God uses powerfully for no matter how dark the situation is, just knowing there's someone else there, that God's going to come through, and maybe he's using this person and how much they're loving you. It's a beautiful thing.
Sometimes it just takes a matter of whether it's just maybe just a compliment or just again saying hello to someone. You see someone by themselves, just hey, let's just talk to you. Just say hi. I mean, sometimes that's all they want. That's all they need. It's just that they know that someone cares for them. That's really showing Christ's love for others and really just breaking it down to being kind to human being. Love God, love others. That is what we're supposed to do. To towards others, and if we did that, I think this world would be a much better place. But of course, because you know we are in the world we're in. We all face storms sometimes. I'm sure you do as well. But we stand in that freedom that we know that we are saved and we have that grace and redemption through Christ. What keeps you grounded in hope now? Is there a particular Bible verse or truth that you hold on to these days?
hmm Oh, there's so many, like, especially the Psalms. I think that really, when I'm going through a dark moment, whether it's anxiety, whether it's depression, and to be honest with you, like my last suicide attempt was actually a little over a year ago.
Mm,
Like all these things, they can still happen. And yet God is so faithful. And the Psalms especially help me know I'm not alone, because we
mm,
forget David went through this stuff. We forget Moses stuttered. We forget how many
yeah,
people were afraid or mistakes were made. And it's okay. God knew that. That's why it's in there to remind us
mhm,
we're going to have our moments. And it's okay to continue to call on him. So I love reading the Psalms. I love reading John, especially. Like it's,
mm,
the disciple that Jesus loved, reading how
mhm,
Jesus was so present and how much he loved. Sometimes you'll read a verse and it will just hit you so much in that moment. Or Romans 8, there's especially so many verses there. Like I went through one point where so much anxiety, I memorized Romans 8, which took such a long time. And I wish I still had it memorized, but there's just so many verses in there God used to help push me through. And sometimes, it'll be a verse, maybe a sermon. I had several sermons I would go and listen to when those moments got hard, or make yourself a playlist, do whatever you can. So when those moments happen, whether it's just anxiety, whether it's depression, or if it does get to the point where, you don't know what living's even worth anymore, have people you can call on, have a playlist of songs, have some Bible verses. I made notes on my phone. I had notes in my house to remind me of who Jesus is and how much he loves me. And it can feel a little cringe sometimes, but what matters is how much that's sinking into your heart, not
mhm.
what the aesthetics or your Pinterest board says.
And like you mentioned the Psalm specifically. Before you even mentioned it, that I was thinking, David of all people, he suffered a lot. He was chased. He was out to be killed many many times, and just and of course you mentioned Moses as well. But God takes the broken and he makes them beautiful again. And Moses, of course, David, of course, but also Saul, now Paul. The writer of pretty much half of the New Testament, he persecuted the church. I'm sure he had a lot of mental issues as well, just because of what he went through, and then of course being imprisoned so much that he was, but yet he rested on that hope, and he knew that you know to live as Christ, to die as gain. One of his most popular verses is that, yeah, I can, whether I live or die, I'm in a better place, but I'm going to live because I want to share my testimony with other people and share the love of Jesus. And I think that's what, those who are going through times, let God use your struggle to make it beautiful, so that way you can come out of it and be like, hey, I've I'm free of this. And again, you're a prime example, Brad, and just you're using your testimony to share with others that it's opened up conversations and really just it's a trickle. I won't say trickle. It's almost like it's a domino effect. It's like all these artists that are really, I don't know if maybe it's just me kind of being hypersensitive to it now, but a lot more artists just thankfully are starting to address that topic a lot more, which is great. But I just really appreciate what you're doing and being able to share that with you. But before we wrap up our conversation, how can people stay connected with you and follow the great you're a part of at New Release Today? And is there something that you like to share with those listening who might need that reminder that their story isn't over?
Definitely, yeah. For all those listening, even if you're doing great mental health wise, there's people who struggle with it. And a lot of times you don't know who it is. It could be someone really close to you. It's just remembering and praying. I do something before I go out to every event. I always pray, whether it's a short one, whether it's a long one, but it's like, God, help me be who you want me to be. Help me to shine your light instead of my own. And help me to be, the light and hands and feet of Jesus where you've called me to go. Because you never know when you talk with someone what they need to hear. And for all those who are, broken here, and it's just knowing specifically you are loved. God has so much for you. Your story is not over. There's a song by Brandon Lake called Don't You Give Up on Me. And it is one of the most powerful songs, I think, in all Christian music, in my opinion. But it's just a song just saying, the darker the night is, the brighter the light gets. You ain't seen what I've started. Child, we're just getting started. Those are words that God says over us every single day. The day always gets better. The night never lasts. And God is always there, so strong. So that's what I would encourage everyone listening, just to remember how much God loves them there. And if you do want to follow me, there is a social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I like doing a lot of ministry on there, just sharing Christian songs, like you said, through NRT, through Lightfire playlist. There's several things that God just continues to open up avenues. And I love pointing people to, whether it's the Word or other artists with these powerful messages in their music, just to remind people how much and how real Jesus truly is and how much it's worth it.
Bradden, thank you so much for opening up your heart with us today, sharing your story. It's definitely a reminder that there's always hope. And again, we thank you so much for sharing your time with us today.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored.
And to all of you watching, don't forget to like, comment, and share, and don't miss any future Kingdom Builder conversations. For more about Bradden and his work at New Release Today and everything today's Christian entertainment has to offer, click on the links in the description below. See you next time, and until then, this is Mike Laxton reminding you to put Christ first in your lives, and everything else will fall into place. And remember, you are never alone.